South Africa's political landscape has been shaken once again after the Constitutional Court of South Africa delivered what many analysts are calling one of the most consequential rulings of President Cyril Ramaphosa's presidency. In a landmark judgment handed down today, the Constitutional Court ruled that Parliament acted unlawfully and unconstitutionally when it blocked the impeachment process linked to the controversial Phala Phala scandal. The decision effectively reopens one of the biggest political controversies in modern South African history and sends the matter back to Parliament, where lawmakers will now be forced to reconsider whether a full impeachment inquiry into Ramaphosa should proceed. And suddenly, a scandal many believed had politically faded away is back at the center of national debate. For the African National Congress, this ruling could not come at a more delicate moment. The ANC is already navigating coalition politics after losing its outright majority in the 2024 elections, while facing growing public frustration over governance failures, corruption allegations, economic stagnation, and internal divisions. Now, the Phala Phala matter threatens to reopen old wounds just as the governing party attempts to stabilize itself ahead of future electoral battles. At the heart of the controversy is the now infamous burglary that took place at Ramaphosa's Phala Phala game farm in Limpopo in 2020. The scandal exploded into public view after allegations emerged that large sums of undeclared foreign currency had been hidden inside furniture at the farm and later stolen during a break-in. Former spy boss Arthur Fraser accused Ramaphosa of concealing the crime and bypassing official reporting procedures. Ramaphosa has consistently denied wrongdoing. The president acknowledged that money was stolen, but maintained that the funds came from the legitimate sale of buffalo to a Sudanese businessman and denied violating any laws. He also denied personally covering up the incident. But the controversy intensified in late 2022 when an independent Section 89 panel chaired by former Chief Justice Sandileng Kobo concluded that there was prima facie evidence suggesting Ramaphosa may have violated the Constitution and anti-corruption laws. That report recommended that Parliament consider establishing a formal impeachment inquiry. Instead, the ANC-dominated National Assembly voted to reject the report, effectively shutting down the impeachment process before it could fully begin. At the time, opposition parties accused Parliament of protecting the president rather than fulfilling its constitutional oversight role. Now, nearly 4 years later, the Constitutional Court has sided with those opposition parties. In a major legal victory for the economic fighters and other challengers, the Apex Court ruled that Parliament's handling of the matter failed constitutional standards. The judges found that the National Assembly acted irrationally by blocking further scrutiny despite serious findings made by the independent panel. The implications are enormous. This is no longer simply about a farm robbery. It is now about the limits of parliamentary power, the accountability of the presidency, and whether South Africa's democratic institutions are willing to investigate allegations involving the country's highest office without fear or political protection. The ruling also places renewed pressure on Parliament itself. Lawmakers are now expected to revisit the Section 89 process and determine whether a formal impeachment committee should finally be established. And this is where the political calculations become even more complicated, because unlike in 2022, the ANC no longer governs with the same dominance it once enjoyed. South Africa's political environment has changed dramatically since the previous vote. Coalition politics now play a larger role in parliament, meaning the governing party may no longer have the same level of control over politically sensitive processes. The opposition has already seized on the ruling as proof that constitutional accountability cannot simply be voted away. EFF leader Julius Malema welcomed the judgment as what he described as a victory for accountability and constitutional oversight. Meanwhile, the Democratic Alliance stated that it would participate in any impeachment-related process in accordance with the rule of law, signaling that the matter may receive broader parliamentary scrutiny than before. Yet, despite the dramatic headlines, legal experts caution that this ruling does not automatically mean Ramaphosa will be impeached. What the court has done is reopen the constitutional process, not determine guilt. The next stage will depend on parliamentary procedures, political negotiations, committee findings, and whether sufficient support exists for a deeper inquiry. Still, the symbolism of the ruling is profound. For years, critics argued that the Phala Phala matter represented a test of whether South Africa's institutions would hold powerful leaders accountable in the same way ordinary citizens are held accountable. Now, the Constitutional Court has effectively stated that Parliament cannot simply ignore serious findings from an independent impeachment panel without proper constitutional justification. The timing also creates fresh uncertainty around Ramaphosa's political authority. Although he remains president, the reopening of the Phala Phala process risks reigniting divisions both within the ANC and among coalition partners. Analysts say the controversy could weaken Ramaphosa's reform agenda and embolden political rivals who believe the scandal damaged public trust long ago. And beyond the politics lies a bigger question. What does this ruling say about the future of accountability in South Africa? Because for many observers, this is not merely about one president. It is about whether constitutional democracy can withstand political pressure when powerful figures face scrutiny. And after today's ruling, one thing is certain: the Phala Phala scandal is far from over.